Welcome back to Gravity Rush. We defeated the outer part of the big boss thing, but hey, Sid has an idea on how to defeat it, so we're gonna go do that, I guess.
This guy, of all people, is the one we're turning to for our winning strategy.
I got a
Yes.
gun.
Okay.
Yeah, we are gonna have to go inside the thing.
Oh, where have I heard this before? Weren't we just talking about Final Fantasy?
Yeah, we're going inside the giant
So
abandon.
anyway, I need to go on my rant because this actually really bothers me about Final Fantasy. And when I was talking about the numbers in Final Fantasy have no meaning, I mean more than just, 50 million is a really stupid high amount of health for a boss or whatnot. It's like, okay, at the beginning of an RPG, if you're already doing like 1,255 damage per attack, it's really hard to gauge how much health an enemy has left, and thus how much damage you should try to be doing in order to like kill it so that you can like split your character's attacks and stuff more effectively. Maybe this is just because I played Paper Mario a bunch as like one of my first real
Or you're
RPGs.
or you're just not good at math.
Um, yeah, because let's see you try to
All right,
do
I'll
four-digit addition in real time with an active bar system.
I can.
I'll sort of agree and disagree with you, Ted, because part of it depends on what kind of system is attached to those numbers. Final Fantasy has done bad versions of this and really good versions at times. Like, for a bad version, look no further than Final Fantasy 13, where the numbers themselves were such a chaotic mess of nothing that the only real thing you could possibly look at to tell how good you were doing was the stagger system, and nothing but the stagger system. If you were staggering the enemy and you were dealing damage while they were staggered, you were doing good damage. If you hadn't staggered the enemy, your only goal was to stagger the enemy, because there was no fucking way you were doing enough damage unless you were staggering the enemy. The actual numbers that were at play didn't matter. Yeah, but on the other hand, Final Fantasy VII Remake, which does actually have a stagger system, does a good job of making both the small amounts of damage that you do worthwhile, as well as the big amounts of damage that you manage to pull off when you stagger an enemy, without
I
necessarily
just
making you have to rely on one specific tactic.
I just find it hard to gauge when, if I do an attack that does 524 damage, and then the next attack I do does 808 damage, and then I do three more. It's really hard for me,
Yeah,
especially since most Final Fantasies have an ATB system, to keep track of that, and so
but
I feel like less I'm
Well, what
strategizing and more like I'm
you know,
using attacks until
you know
I
what?
hit.
The trick is to not be precise. You just kind of
Yeah,
guesstimate.
but you know what makes it manageable in Final Fantasy VII Remake? You don't have to pay attention to the numbers themselves. Enemies just have visible health bars. Solves all the problems.
I wish more RPGs did stuff like that. Like, I mean, I also tattle every enemy in Paper Mario, but or even just small things like Dragon Quest XI has a system where once you get an enemy down to like mid, they're yellow, and low, they're red.
Yeah.
But which I also appreciate. Although then again, Dragon
Octopath
Quest
Traveler
XI
does
also
that.
uses smaller numbers in general. So at the beginning of the game, you can add up and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I did 4 damage with one character and then 6 with another, and the enemy died. So they probably have 10 health.
Yeah, so it's easy to just work with the numbers. In the case of Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VII Remake, you have the large numbers associated with Final Fantasy, but you also have the health bars so that you can mentally sort of tabulate, like, how much damage is good damage against this enemy, so you know whether or not you need to bring out the big guns in this particular fight, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just anal about that kind of thing. Although I will, just to not be biased, I will talk about something bullshit about Dragon Quest Health that they did for years, and I don't know if they still do it in 11. But sometimes Dragon Quest monsters don't start with as much health as they have. They randomly will start with somewhere between 75% and 100% of their possible max health, which is why sometimes in Dragon Quest monsters will heal themselves in the first turn of a fight, which is like bizarre,
Weird,
and again
yes.
will mess with your mental math.
Did we just
Maybe
get...
you caught them off guard.
We just got a new power, and this one doesn't clash quite as heavily.
No, this is the opposite of the lunar. This is Jupiter power. We're really fucking heavy.
Gosh, Ryan, you can't just say that to a woman.
Hey, you're going to
No, it's
instinctively
true.
call him John. What the fuck does that mean?
Did Raven just say you're imagining things?
Yeah, she's trying to be a supportive girlfriend, all right, and we appreciate that.
So now you're just super fucking
I
heavy.
Oh, Raven.
She's also getting upset at me.
Seriously, they're a couple.
Damn, cat thick.
It-
I also like that she looks like she's wearing like anime training weights and stuff like that.
I know I've said this before, but Raven makes more sense narratively as a character when she's accompanying Kat rather than on her own, where she's just not nearly as interesting. But when she has Kat to bounce off of, she becomes a lot more fun.
She's like the backwards Shadow, actually, in that case, where Shadow was far more interesting when he wasn't a part of like the Motley crew.
Well, until they made a game about him, and no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well. Ugh. Yeah.
God, I had maybe I drank too much. I immediately took Shadow's backward shadows. It's a Shadow the Hedgehog that walks backwards everywhere.
He's moved.
Just like, stop
Nah,
that
he's Shadow the Hedgehog, but he decided to do what Tetsuya Nomura did with Gact, only with Michael Jackson. So he's moonwalking
Oh,
it.
okay. Give him a thick Russian accent.
Chaos control.
Why,
That was really fucking
why
weird.
did they dub Genesis like that in Dirge of Cerberus?
I don't know. Well, because Dirge of Cerberus came before Crisis Core, before they had an idea what they were going to do with the character.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, why?
I don't know.
Aren't you excited for the Genesis Super Boss
It's-
in Final Fantasy VII Remake?
They're going to
2?
break
It's a little
Genesis
bit
in
like
some
the reverse of what they
capacity.
did with the 12th Doctor when he first appeared. Like, it's hard to notice because he only has a couple lines, but when the 12th Doctor appears at the end of the special where he regenerates, he doesn't have any accent at all. But when they actually did the episodes for the next season, when what was the actor's name? I forget. When the 12th Doctor was actually in full episodes, he had a very obvious Scottish accent. Obvious to the point where he himself remarks about how Scottish he is, and says that he can complain about things now because that's a Scottish stereotype. But in the episode where he regenerates, he has no accent. So it's really, really weird going back to that episode after hearing his accent in the full season.
They wrote it in after the fact.
They wrote-
Is that actor Scottish?
I don't think so, because he actually plays a different part in the 10th Doctor season, where he's this Greek guy, and he doesn't have an accent there either. I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure whether or not that's the actor having an accent though, because okay, this is a thing that I've noticed about British actors more than American actors, but like, they can do accents really good. Like, okay, John Boyega in Star Wars sounds really American in Star Wars, but he's a British actor.
Wait,
he's British.
he's British?
Yeah, he's British. He sounds
yeah,
British
he's
as fuck
British.
when he's talking normally.
Okay, because
then there's-
I knew that Daisy Ridley was British,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that.
But
It has to do with just the nature of how they perform.
yeah,
It's why British singers sound like really American when they sing.
yeah, but like it's not just him. Like Hugh Laurie, who plays Dr. House in House MD, it sounds really like not British in that role, but he's British as hell when he's talking normally. Same deal with him. So I'm trying to figure out if like the actor who plays the 12th Doctor is like I don't know if he sounds Scottish when he talks normally or not, because I've never heard him talk normally.
It's kind of like you know, the movie style of talking from like the 30s and 40s. I think it's called like Mid-Atlantic. That's a specific kind of dialogue that actors train for stage and cinema, and no one actually spoke like that, so that's kind of a weird misconception at the time.
Which is, well, that could explain why you don't really hear that accent anymore in
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
Why would they train to speak in a certain way that no one actually...
Because it's understandable to everyone. It's not meant to be a accent where, oh, I'm speaking in a southern accent, but New Englanders won't really get what you're saying if you do that.
Yeah, that's why a lot of it's a radio thing too, which is why
Yeah.
a lot of radio DJs don't typically have very thick accents. Like if you would think that here in Boston, all of our DJs would talk like this with the fucking Patriots. Am I right? But no,
What?
Can you believe Tom Brady left our Pats? I gotta go Dunks. So you see, I was doing a terrible Boston accent.
that was a very alien-esque language that just came out of your mouth for a second there.
I don't even know what you were saying. Okay.
I tell you what, Ted, we're gonna go to the freaking.
Okay, you know what? You
Yeah,
don't need to say anymore. You've proven your point.
But anyway, yeah, the DJs talk more along the way.
Oh God, this is a random.
If I may,
This is a random as hell time to notice this, but I just realized what Kat's new getup was making me think about, with like the big bulky leg armor, but really like not top heavy at all. She's reminding me of all things, of the frickin' the barbarian chick from Dragon's Crown. I think it's called.
Oh, that. Oh,
the Amazon.
The Amazon, yeah. She's
Yeah,
got
I think
like
her name is just Amazon.
She's got like the most muscular legs in existence, but because they wanted her to look feminine, she just doesn't have like any muscles at all in her torso, and it looks really goddamn weird.
What?
that's just a vanilla wear
No.
thing.
Wait, are you sure? You're talking Amazon,
Well,
right?
she doesn't have like bulky muscles in her torso. She's like very leg.
Excuse me?
She's very leg heavy. She's toned in her torso, yes, but she's also like shaped lean in her torso, so it's like she did the opposite of Knuckles from Sonic Boom and just skipped arm day half the time.
So, okay, I'm looking at the art for her right now. There's also like a figure I've just seen on Amazon that popped up, which is absolutely not what the art looks like. It's just like a typical anime chick with slightly larger thighs. But looking at the key art for her right now, she is pretty damn ripped. Like, she got big abs. Like,
Yeah, she
like
has
huge.
abs, but it's okay to have abs because that doesn't change your overall shape much.
I just posted a key art of her in the
yeah, she has the hourglass figure though, which I think is what Lewis is going for.
right.
Yeah, she's
Which
like
does make her
she's
seem
okay.
more
She's
feminine.
she's like lean in the torso, but she has bulky arms and really bulky legs. So the proportions are like odd, very odd.
Yeah, oh well, that's just because it's
That's
vanilla wear and they don't
stylized.
know how to draw
Yeah.
people.
That's also.
And she also
especially
has the
women.
tiniest head. So it's like she
tiny head?
it's like she gets gradually smaller the further up you go. It's odd. And I'm like 90% positive that whoever drew that art has no idea how muscles work.
Yes, if you've seen some of the side characters from Muramasa, which is done by the same studio, then yes, they definitely do not know how.
And you know,
muscles
I'm pretty sure it's not a conscious effort on their part to make them more feminine. It's more just like that particular artist has weird quirks in how they draw anatomy. Because a lot of artists, especially in anime games that I've seen, have weird quirks in how they draw people. Like the Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5 artists cannot draw necks at all. Like, every time a neck is visible on a character, it's the most mutant alien thing you've ever seen in your life, and you wish you could unsee it. And, you know, how the character the character artist for Devil Survivor just has the weirdest anti-grab boobs ever, because I guess they just really like boobs to the point where they never learned how to draw them properly.
I like to think that the bras in the Devil Survivor universe are just military strength, you know.
But like everyone's chest is like anti-gravity in that series, and it's just how that artist draws characters, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
I mean,
but like everything else about their character art is really interesting, but they do the weirdest.
Oh, I
moves.
love the characters in Devil Survivor.
Yeah,
It's
like
one of my
they're
favorite.
like really unique and
SMTs.
interesting character designs, but that particular part of the anatomy, they just don't know how to do it, and they think it looks nice, so they keep doing it wrong.
There's a lot of weird things. Like one of the characters, Amane, is a priestess, and so her sleeves have like a long, like piece of cloth connecting them that like go all the way down to her legs, but the cloth is always in between her legs, so it's like she would trip if she tried to walk. Listen, Devil Survivor is one of my favorite Shin Megami Tensei games, but the outfits make no sense.
That was a weird tangent to end this off on. We'll see you next part for Gravity Rush.